If you work in marketing or business development at a mid to large UK law firm, there's one part of your website that's quietly killing your organic performance: the news and insights section. We recently removed over 4,000 news articles for a London firm, and their organic monthly traffic went up by around 3,500 clicks. At a 3% inquiry rate, that's over 100 extra legal inquiries a month, just by removing low quality content from Google's index. So today, I'm going to show you exactly how to see if this index bloat problem is hurting your firm, how to find the worst offenders fast, and what to do about them without starting a war with your partners. So, let's draw this out. Your site has two broad types of pages. You've got your high value pages, which is your practice area pages, your sectors, your location pages, the one that actually generate instructions. Then you've got your news and insights section. This makes up a lot more pages of your website than your high value pages. You've got all of this, which usually comes down to the fact that partners chip in with lots of written articles, thought leadership pieces, and they're written for the partners, not for searchers. So this is Google's view. But what happens when their quality evaluation looks different to what your evaluation is? When Google crawls it, it doesn't care who shouted loudest internally, it cares about your overall quality. If 5 to 10% of your pages drive 90% of your traffic and the rest get 0 impressions, you get what's called index bloat. Too many low value URLs dragging down your perceived quality. So how does this work out? We do it with good pages divided by total pages. So if we do an example of this, you can do, for example, let's say you've got 300 good pages and you've got 5,000 total pages. That would be a 6% ratio of good quality pages on your website. The lower this ratio, the more work you're asking Google to work hard to find your good quality pages. So it's unreasonable to expect Google to reward websites for wasting their resources. We've tested this in several large London firms, and here is just one example from a case study that we've got, where we identified about 4,000 legacy news posts within a website and it had no impressions, no clicks, no relevant keyword search engines. So we no-indexed them and cleaned up the internal links. And then we waited for Google to acknowledge the index, that we've made the changes, so that it took about 4 months for that to happen. And then it started getting indexed. And then gradually from that point, all the changes we made were rewarded. The result was roughly 3,500 extra organic clicks per month. So a 3% conversion to inquiry, that's over 100 extra qualified inquiries per month. So with the same budget, same team, same website, just less junk being submitted to the index in Google's eyes. So, how can we quickly see if we have the problem? I'm just going to go through this in a few steps. First off, we need to check the ratio. So we're going to move this down a little bit. There we go. Right, so we're going to check this in a couple of ways. In Google Search Console, you can go to Performance and Pages to start with. So we want to go to, we're going to go Google Search Console, Performance, Pages. This is the first way. So when you get to Pages, we're going to filter by whatever the section of your website is, your news and insights section. For like, that might be /news-insights, for example. But it will be different depending on what your website is, it will be different. So then you're going to sort by traffic. or clicks. So what we usually see is that you'll see a handful doing anything at all. So you'll be getting traffic to those, and then you'll see hundreds or thousands doing absolutely nothing. So what we want to do is see like this. So you'll have your, we call them hero pages, which is your practice pages, your home page, the ones that get all of the traffic. And then we've got long tail, and let's say for leadership, so we're just going to say articles. You'll get a lot of traffic for a handful of these within the hero pages, but the majority of these long tail are going to be no traffic but high volume of pages. So the way we want to do this is get this as high as this. The next way we can figure this out is also in Google Search Console, but this time we want to go into indexing pages, and then we're going to go to two sections here. We've got crawled but not yet indexed, or currently not indexed. Or discovered. And just so I'm not writing forever, we're going to do this as an acronym. From this point, we're going to go CCNI or DCNI, just for simplicity. Okay. And then we're going to go number of pages over here. And then what we're going to have is valid pages, and we're going to have not indexed pages. So we need these ratios to be in favor of valid pages as possible. So you want it to represent high quality. So the problem there is because there are a lot more news and insights pages in your website, you're going to have a lot more not indexed for those reasons. So you'll have valid pages, and then you're going to have and this, we need this one to come down, and we need this one to come up as much as we possibly can. Next, we want to crawl the website, or specifically crawl that section of the website. Now, if you're not in search marketing, this might be a little bit intimidating, or it might be something that you're not comfortable doing, but it is very easy. So you can do this with a software such as Screaming Frog or Sitebulb. They do free versions, so you can download it and then just run the crawl up to a certain amount. And the paid versions are not that expensive. So what we want to do is go into one of those, and then we will tag the URLs with 0 sessions or 0 impressions over 12 to 18 months. And that's effectively your dead weight. So we're going to have your website here. Let's say that this is your website. And then we're going to have that, and that's going to be your, if I could spell, dead weight. The 2.0 version of this is you can then run an AI assessment of searcher intent, and you can do this by connecting GPT's API to Google Sheet Export, and then you can target the queries per page and parsing that, put them back through SEMrush or Ahrefs with an API. That is a 2.0 version. Obviously, like, it's probably going to be something that's a little bit out of reach, but if that's something that you want, you would get a much more detailed and high quality content strategy out the back of it. But for this, let's just focus on how we can filter out that content value. So how do we get to this dead weight? So we're going to split this into 3 columns. We're going to do page type, and we're going to do target audience, and then we're going to do evergreen content. Okay, so now you need to ask yourself 3 questions. Is anybody searching for this, which will be your page type? And then you want to ask, does it support a fee earning area, which will be your target audience? And would a prospective client read this a year from now or 2 years from now? And that is whether it is evergreen or not. If you get a yes, no, simple system going, but if you get no, 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 then that's a bloat candidate and something needs to be done about it. The likelihood something needs to be done about it if it gets a no to any of these questions, but now we're going to go through what you do with these main offenders. So let's cover how to resolve these issues. We're going to go for our fix options here. Fix options. Okay, so first thing you can do is no index, but keep the page alive. Next, you can consolidate lots of pages into one, and that will come down to the quality of the content, whether you've written about the same thing time and again, or you can remove the content entirely and then redirect that URL to something else in the website. Really important that you remember to redirect, otherwise you'll just end up with lots of broken pages. So, option 1, no index but keep live. This for you is probably the politically safest thing to do. You keep the article for users browsing the site, stakeholders, for social media, for email marketing, for the newsletter, if they're appropriate. But then you tell Google not to index it. So it's still there on the website, but Google understands that it's not meant for them. This is where most firms should start. And then we got option 2, consolidate. So in this bit, you would want to take all of the similar or near identical articles that you can identify on the same topic, and then you want to merge them into one genuinely useful evergreen guide, and then redirect the old ones into it. So if we were to do that as, let's say you found 5 articles that have the same one, you want to write the new one by combining all of these, but then you would make sure that you redirect into the new one, old. Okay, so finally, option 3, remove and redirect. For truly dead content with no links, no traffic, no relevance, you need to remove and redirect this. In our experience, there's usually something that's got some similarity or relevance to it. So ideally, you'd want to redirect that to a practice page or a category page. But if that's not possible, just the nearest useful news and insights article will be fine. The ratio of these 3, because you're going to then have 3 buckets where you've put these into the mix. And we're going to have that in a funnel like this. So you're going to start out with all pages in your process, and then the likelihood is you're probably going to get that into 3 sections, and you want to expect this to be around the most being keep and improve. Then you would like to see the ones that you're going to no index. And the reason why just to go through this is because you want more to be in keep and improve, because that is going to lead to more traffic directly from these. So the next one you want to be no indexing, which is indicating to Google that you are managing the quality of the site, and that's going to lead to, let's do directly, and this is going to lead to indirectly more traffic. So the traffic isn't going to come to the pages that you no index, but indirectly by no indexing them, you will get more traffic to the pages that are indexed in the site. And then you've got the delete and redirect. Deleting and redirecting is a last resort. You don't want lots to be here. So hopefully when you go through this process, if you go through this process, you won't have too many that you have to delete and redirect. But that will vary depending on the quality and amount of content that you've created in the past. If there's lots of fee earners creating content, then the likelihood is there might be some that just don't cut it, or they're short in length, or just not relevant to searches in any way. So that's the most common funnel that we see, is in that shape there. Okay, so the last bit after you've gone through this process, you then need to set up a governance rule. So if you address all this and then don't set up a governance rule, you're going to have to do this again. In your governance rule, you just want a checklist of all new content that goes onto the site. So every question is, does it have search demand? Yes or no? Does this target a practice area? And is this evergreen? Now, I'm not completely against content that isn't evergreen, because there will be legislation updates and things that are in mainstream media that Google does want to cover. So this isn't an essential, but I would say there will be a bucket of content that you have that are not evergreen, that you keep tabs on, that you will eventually want to no index and handle properly. So there just needs to be an asterisk next to some new content. But yeah, if a new piece of content doesn't clear the bar, then it just doesn't go live, or it's no index from day one. So here's the challenge. You can try to piece this together yourself, or you can use the exact checklist and process that we use for firms just like this. We've packaged this into our case system, a step-by-step process for turning searches into signed retainers without wasting your marketing budget on content that doesn't move the needle. Not only do you get this process, but you also get our ad processes within that system as well, so you can get qualified leads through multiple marketing channels. If you want that, just click the link below, download the case system, and on the next page you'll also see an option to book a law firm SEO and index Bloat diagnostic with my team, where we'll apply this directly to your site. And that's it. If your news and insights has quietly grown into the graveyard, then this is the quickest win that you're going to find this year.